In the summer of 1972, a man who had spent 40 years inside the American Mafia was gunned down on a quiet Brooklyn street, not by a rival gang, but on the orders of a fellow boss he owed money to. His name was Thomas Eboli, known on the streets as Tommy Ryan, and for a brief, turbulent stretch, he stood at the head of the Genovese crime family, one of New York's most powerful criminal organizations. He was born Tommaso Eboli on June 13, 1911, in Siciliano, a small town near Naples, Italy. He immigrated to the United States as a young child with his family, settling into the working-class immigrant communities of New York. As a young man, Eboli tried his hand at professional boxing before drifting into the world of organized crime during Prohibition, working as a bootlegger for the rising gangster Charles "Lucky" Luciano. By the early 1930s, he had become the personal bodyguard of Vito Genovese, one of the most feared figures in the American underworld, a relationship that would define the rest of his life. To distance himself from his immigrant roots, Eboli adopted the name Tommy Ryan, borrowed from a famous boxer, and used it as he moved into a second career as a boxing manager. In 1952, during a match at Madison Square Garden, Eboli was so enraged by a referee's decision against his fighter that he physically attacked the official in front of the crowd. The assault cost him a lifetime ban from professional boxing and briefly landed him in prison, the only time in his criminal career he served real time behind bars. Through the 1950s, Eboli remained close to Vito Genovese, rising through the ranks as Genovese fought to seize control of the family from its longtime boss, Frank Costello. When Genovese finally took over the family in 1957, Eboli's status rose with him, and he became a trusted captain overseeing rackets in Manhattan's nightlife and dockworker unions. In 1959, Vito Genovese was convicted in a federal narcotics case and sent to prison, where he would remain until his death a decade later. But he continued to direct the family from behind bars. During those years, Eboli sat on a small panel of trusted men who carried out Genovese's orders on the outside. When Genovese died in prison in 1969, Eboli emerged as the family's acting boss. But according to many investigators and mob historians, the real power stayed hidden behind him, held by quieter, lower-profile figures who avoided law enforcement's attention. In that view, Eboli wasn't truly running the organization. He was its public face, absorbing scrutiny while others made the real decisions. Eager to prove himself as more than a figurehead, Eboli sought to build his own fortune and independent power base. In the early 1970s, he arranged financing for a large-scale drug trafficking operation, borrowing an estimated $4 million from Carlo Gambino, the boss of the rival Gambino family, and one of the most powerful men on the Mafia's ruling commission. The operation unraveled when federal agents shut it down and arrested most of the crew involved, wiping out the money before it could ever be repaid. Eboli was left owing a debt he could not pay, to a man widely regarded as untouchable. According to multiple historical accounts, Gambino and his underboss confronted Eboli demanding repayment, and when the money wasn't there, Gambino allegedly moved to have him killed, with the commission's approval. Some historians add another layer, that Gambino may have engineered the entire deal from the start, intending to replace Eboli with an ally regardless of the outcome. In the early hours of July 16, 1972, Eboli left his girlfriend's apartment in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and walked toward his parked car. As he reached the vehicle, a gunman in a passing truck opened fire, hitting him 5 times in the head and neck. Eboli died at the scene. No one was ever arrested or charged for his murder. Within days, Frank Thierry, an ally of Gambino's, was installed as the new face of the Genovese family, while the organization's actual leadership continued to operate quietly behind the scenes. Eboli's death has stood for over 50 years as an unsolved case on paper, but to historians of organized crime, it remains one of the clearest examples of how, in the Mafia's world, a title meant far less than a balance sheet.